Hey everyone, it is that time again when a new set is coming out and we build preliminary decks just to test out the deck slash, the new cards and see how it is. So I always have to say, these are just like the first build. They're definitely going to change. People are going to figure out better stuff. People might have already figured out better stuff because they have like tournaments coming up very soon. So we'll be keeping up with that, but usually they get updated more by the English release, right? So that's just that. We're only going to focus on the new ride lines. We're not going to really bother with I think the manga ride line, because that is just literally one ride line, zero support. Just put in all the Dragon Empire generics and call it a day. So I felt like that wouldn't be that interesting unless you like to see me put in, four of the grade 2 generic, then 4 cyclers, 4 energy cyclers. That's pretty much a Keta Sanctuary deck, right? So I don't know. But yeah, no, we're just going to focus on the new ones today, and I'll kind of give you a quick rundown on why I built that a certain way. So first off, we're going to start off with Dragon Empire. This is, I think, the Grai Andor deck. So it's this dude. It's the guy it's the guy, the dragon, and they fuse to become the armor. So his gimmick is that you rest him, and then you call out a Grai grade 2 and an Andorra grade 2 Allure. And they come out, and then it gets the effect so that when your Andorra attacks, you suck both the Andorra and the Grai into the soul, and then you stand this dude because he's rested because of the effect. And then the front row gets 10k for that turn. So that pretty much just says that you need to have those 2 cards in the soul. You never want to touch that soul. You don't need to put those 2 cards in your main deck at all because they always have to come from soul. So yeah, that's just pretty much it. What the grade 2 and 1 do is that this guy this one's not that interesting. It's just if you have a Grai, you just get to +5, so it's like 15k attack. But this guy, you rest him at the beginning of the battle phase. You rest him and you pick one of your Andorra regards, and then for that turn they can attack from the back row, and they also get 10k. So it's a 4 attack deck basically. So you call these 2 guys out, right? The 2 and the 1 out. You'd rest this guy and you give this guy an extra 10k, and then he gets 5 by himself. And this guy, they're both in the back row, and this one's probably behind Vanguard Circle because your Vanguard's gonna get fat. And then you will attack and go bam, sick. This guy attacked, suck him in to become this big dude, and then boom, crazy times. Other thing to note is that your ride line basically doesn't discard anything, so you just ride for free, right? The rest of the deck is pretty much just going to be Grai support. So you got the Persona Ride. This guy is you just distribute extra power, get some draws, and then this thing is your energy kind of spender. This will basically let you get draws as well, and also get extra power. And the rest of the cards that I've kind of added, this one is a 10k booster or attacker, and you can kind of use the CB to retire grade 1s on your opponent's back row, grade 1 or lower. But because you basically don't really spend that much CB anyway, you spend it for this dude, right, to draw a card. You can spend it for this guy to retire, and that's pretty much it. You don't really use CB at all. Your Vanguard uses 0 CB, so it's just, yeah, very CB efficient. And the rest of the cards is just extra support to like kind of boost the deck. So first off, you have the Energy Cycler. You don't really have, apart from that grade 1 that I showed you, the Golem dude, you don't really have any other way to spend energy, so you can use this as your energy spender. You don't discard for a ride deck, but you still guard, right? You still want to guard. So whenever you guard for this, you get Energy Blast 3 and draw a card, and that's just a very efficient way of spending that energy. The Brawler, you do play an order like pretty much every time, or ideally you do. You have to be careful not to Soul Blast important cards from your soul, or otherwise you just lose. But you will get excess soul, right? Because you will ideally Persona Ride. And overall, her second effect is just extra power, so you can still like beat things up and get powers. So that's nice. And this is just an extra way to get your orders into soul. And this is just the main order that this deck runs. So you give your Vanguard the effect. When this unit stands, your front row gets +10. So even more extra power, right? Big power. 1 defensing roar just for the extra defense, and that's pretty much the deck. Yep. So the next section we're going to look at is Blang. So this one is the kind of highlight, I guess, of one of the highlights of this entire set, because it just looked very degenerate when it was first released. The main thing is Blang, right? two effects are both pretty important. The first one is that when it attacks a Vanguard, right, you can bind 2 to 4 cards from your soul and then draw a card. And then if you bound 4 or more cards, you can choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and bind them face down. And then, you know, for each face down cards, every 2 face down cards in the bind zone, it gets plus 5k for the battle. And this is only for your face down binds. It doesn't count theirs. But the main skill will be the divine skill. That's what everyone is talking about. So this one is basically that when it attacks, you know, at the beginning of the battle step, if your bind zone is 8 or more, so this has to be done like on the second time it attacks. For the turn, this gets a crit, right? So it's a true crit attack. And then for the rest of the turn, your opponent can't guard with sentinels or play them. So you can't play Sanctitude, basically. And then you pick one of your opponent's vanguards, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, the opponent just loses all their abilities. So, no abilities, right? No abilities. They become blank. They don't have twin drive. Pretty dirty, but they can ride over it. So that's how they can play around it. But the main effect is that guard restrict. It's a turn-wide guard restrict. So they're gonna have troubles guarding everything else if they become big. That's pretty much the plan. But your Blang itself is also very, very big just from the first effect, and it has a crit, so that's where the scary part is. Now, what is the other cards that we can play to support this? Well, its direct support is this grade 3, right? This guy gets big, it can kind of bind itself. Well, it can go to soul, but then it kind of binds itself. And then you can draw a card from that, but it builds the bind zone, right? And then this is grade 2 is the main one. So this one is when you play it, if your Vanguard is Blang, right? Counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and put as many of them into soul as you want, and then shuffle your deck. If you put 1 or more, you may draw a card. So building advantage and kind of just building soul that quickly. And then when it attacks, if your Vanguard is Blang grade 3 or higher, and this unit's critical is 1 or lower, you can Energy Blast 3, and then for that battle, this unit gets plus 5k power and 1 crit. So it becomes a 2 crit swing, which is pretty important, because on that Blang turn, right, this is where you want to pop it. You're going to spend a lot of energy there, but you get like a huge Blang attack, then guard restrict, and this one swing is a crit, so lots of damage and lots of scary attacks coming in. And the other main support is this grade 1. This basically is one of those Vanguard boosters that we're getting a lot in Divines. So if you boost Blang, or if your Vanguard's a Blang, this gets 5k, so it's a 13k booster. But if you boost the Blang, it gets an extra 2k, so it becomes a 15k booster. And then if your bind zone is 4 or more face down, you can counterblast 1, and then you pick one of your front row rear guards and stand it. Right, and if it's 8 or more, that unit gets 15k as well. So you're gonna have a big turn basically. You're gonna get 4 attacks that turn. The first attack, though, bear in mind, will not have that guard restrict. Right, it will be the second attack, because you're gonna swing with the first attack first. Then you're gonna swing with Blang, and then you're gonna get that guard restrict going and the power, and then you're gonna use this dude's ability to stand something, and then that basically just 3 attacks under the guard restrict. That's the main thing you have to worry about. How do we approach this game plan? So I've seen quite a few ways of doing it. Some was here's the swirler, right? Here's the swirler, and then put in the old soul charge 4 order from Bruce, and then make that big turn, and you're like, whoa, sick. And I think there are ways to do that, because everyone's got like a generic auto searcher now, so it's very hard to miss. But I think we've recently seen some new cards where if you do that, if you put it all on one turn, on that divine skill turn, you might win some games, but you might auto lose some games as well. So it really depends on the meta. What I've kind of went with is I went for a pretty, how do I say it, like just a normal build where we have energy cycler here to kind of get you through the early game, right? Because the main energy expenditure will just be later on for this, but early game you really don't spend much energy at all. So 4 energy cyclers. You can also, if you want, use the CB for it, right? If you just don't use CB, right? That's pretty much it. And then we have Crimson Expeller here. So this allows you to soul charge early game, like push and just do extra damage, because every damage that you do early on just kind of translates into less time. It makes it harder for your opponent to guard, basically, right? But then in your, it has a second effect where like you can just put this into the. If it's in Soul, you pop it, and then you give your Vanguard 10k, which eventually is pretty good because your Blang will get like really huge amounts of power, and then your opponent can't guard. That's it. And then we have Swellers as well. So Sweller, it's coming to play Soul Charge 1, but he gets power, right? So again, on those Blang enemy turns, you can like drop a bunch of these, and then make really big columns. You don't even have to wait for them to. You can, the moment you hit grade 3, you can pop some of these down, and then just try and push damage. Because what your opponent is going to do, they're going to be spending like, you know, probably this guarding like early as much as they can. So this might kind of push through. Of course, like if you think about it, if you put like too much power early, they'll put Sentinels down. So probably just save it for the big Divine Skill turn. Unless you know they have ways to beat your Divine Skill. We'll see soon. The last card I haven't really talked about is grade 1. So this one is, it's not that good, I'm not going to lie, but it does help you Soul Charge, which is nice. This one is just, first effect is when you put on the Regard Circle, you can Soul Charge 1, but if you have a Blang Me Vanguard, instead of Soul Charging 1, you look at the top 2 cards of the deck, and you can put up to 2 in the Soul, and if you don't, you just basically shuffle the rest. But then the second skill is basically, at the end of your Divine Skill turn, if you can just pop this and draw a card, and then your opponent has to discard a card, or they can't ride or stride next turn. Right, so at the beginning of the ride phase, that's when they have to do it. I'm pretty sure. But it's such an... They can just discard anything, and they can just ride. So unless their hand is like 0, this card is pretty jank. So I only put 2, but you can probably just play anything else as well, I think. You could probably put, I don't know, more Soul Charge orders to make your Swellers big. That's pretty much where it is at now, right? If you wanted to make it more of the OTK build, you could probably just take this Expeller out, and then you could probably take this guy out too, and then play, you know, kind of the Soul Charge order, but also like the order searches, like the grade 1. You'll probably see it in some of the other builds. I didn't put it in this one. Cyclists might be good too, just because you want to call things out and like maybe call specific targets out of your soul if you want to use them. But yeah, different ideas there, but this is kind of what I'm going with for now, and we'll see what other degenerate ideas people come up with in the coming weeks. So next up we have is the Liael deck. So this one is kind of hyped because, you know, it has, everyone saw this like special skill, the second skill that you see here, and going, wow, Blangnamir is cooked. I know how the anime is going to end, but let's kind of talk about the deck for a sec and all the skills, because this is how we're going to have to build this entire deck. So first off, the first skill for Liael is that when it attacks, you can CB1 and you pick one of your regards and bind it, and then look at your deck and search for a copy of the same card and call it to the regard. So basically, that's how you make the multi-attack. You bind one of your cards, you call the same card out from your deck, and then it gets to attack again. So basically a 4-attack deck. The second skill is that when it's put on the Guardian Circle, you can discard a card from your hand, and then put 2 cards from the bind zone back into your deck face at the bottom of your deck, right? And then you pick one of your faded 1 Vanguards. So basically all the Divine Skill cards with Divine Skill have the faded one in its name. And then it just, that unit just can't be hit from battle. So it's like a PG, it's a Sentinel, but it's not a Sentinel. So that's how, you know, you're going to get around Blangnamir. And you can put back face down bound cards. So, you know, when Blangnamir binds your cards face down, you can actually put them back. So, yeah, it's pretty good. And then the third skill is a Divine Skill. So when it attacks, well, at the end of the battle attacks, if your opponent is grade 3 or higher, you pick basically the same copy of this card from your drop zone and you ride it. And then that card gets -1 drive. So you basically resets the whole skill, right? Or it's a new card. So all the skills are reset. So that means you can use the first skill again to get another multi-attack off. So that's pretty cool. But that means also you have to build your deck around the fact that you need multiple copies of, you know, your important cards. So we're going to just run the normal ride line for Liael. But then the main attack, as you can see, we have this dragon. Basically, it's a simple dragon. It gets 10k. It's kind of fills slots. Then you have the Sagittarius, another one of your attackers. You know, you can get over triggers. You can use the CB, because we actually don't use much CB in the deck. You can just kind of freely spam the CB to kind of just get big. And then you also have this grade 2. So these all pretty much get like power. So very good targets. And then during your turn, you know, when this card gets bound, has another effect. So you can Soul Blast. You can draw a card and your Vanguard gets like 5k. So that's overall very nice skill to get. As you can see, I didn't just jam in the normal Keta stuff, because one thing kind of afraid with this deck is that you do need 1 CB for your like, you know, for your skills. And then on your Divine skill, you want to use 2 CB. So this is easily kind of, how do you say, mapped out by your opponent, and they can kind of limit what you can do. So if you accidentally screw up and use too much CB, let's say playing the Minerva order, and they lock you out for a turn, your tempo might just be shut down pretty heavily. So I did run other things like the Enunciate Angel just on your big turns. You like do a Persona Ride, boom, or Divine Skills, pop it, you get a counter charge. You can't be stopped, right? And if you do have a lot of extra CB, you can just use Sage's skill. That's kind of your CB outlet. And also this one uses CB. This PR, I think everyone's been talking about this PR going up in price. Just CB1 and you retire it, and then it's when your Vanguard is attacking, and get a card from the damage zone and you put it on your Guardian Circle. So this deck will have a bunch of stuff that gets stuck in the damage zone, and you probably want it elsewhere. You can just either use this to get it out and put it into the drop zone that you can put it back into the deck later, or if one of your Persona Rides gets stuck there, boom, PG, right? PG for days. So that's just pretty much the CB outlets, and the rest of the deck is just Solgion's good, right? Energy Cycle's good. There's also this card. This is the generic Divine Skill. One of the generic, basically all the Divine Skill users get the booster. So there's a 13k card that becomes a 15k booster. But this card is like kind of important, but also kind of annoyingly useless. So one, its only skill is that when it boosts Liael, right? You Soul Blast 1, pick a card from the drop zone, and you can. It has to have the same name as a card already on your board, and you can put it back to the bottom of the deck, and you give one of your units 5k. That's it. But, you know, the function of this card, you don't want to get stuck, basically. You don't want to lose all your pieces that you can't call anything else. They're very important to be able to put cards back, but other cards, you know, draw one, things like that. This one doesn't. This one doesn't counter charge. Just put something back, gives a power. That's it. So kind of important, but kind of not. Basically, your only way of putting cards back is the grade 1 and Liael's PG skill. So that's pretty much it. So those are the 2 ways. Since you could be impacting your Persona Ride by using PGs, we do have just like the Grail here that will let you kind of Persona Ride more often. One thing you might notice is I basically put Grail into every single deck, because the main reason why you run the ladder is because you had Shiranui being like the big deck, and since that's technically got nerfed, right, just putting more Grails in because you can care less. Of course, you might just put back the Grail because Gandiva might be back. Gandiva is getting buffed in this set. Shiranui might not be Dunzo as well, so you can literally just exchange the Grail for anything. Basically, just put back the ladder if everyone goes back to a retire meta. It's really up to you, right? But that's pretty much the deck. Moving on, we have the Tentacle Man, right? We've got Zorga and Nadia. And one thing I want to say is that when I looked at the new ride line that this deck got, I kind of went, is it better than the old ride line? And the answer, I kept on going like, thinking in my head, it doesn't feel like it. So let's just run the old ride line if the new ride line isn't as good, right? The new one does let you dig into your deck for like a specific piece a bit more, but I like to draw 2 and discard 1, and sometimes 2 if I'm unlucky, right? So we just went with the old one. Nadia's skill is actually really good, so you Alchemy Magic in the bind zone instead. So basically, once you put something in the bind zone, you can keep on popping it and using it, so it's very, very cool. The second effect also is your energy spender, so you Energy Blast 2, and you put a normal order into the bind zone from your drop zone, and then you get to call 2 cards. Bro, that is insane. And then for each card in your bind zone, or each type of normal order in your bind zone, they get plus 5k, right? That's a lot of power, right? That's a lot of power. And then the Divine skill is that when it attacks grade 3 or higher, it's Soul Blast 1, and then you pick one of your columns, basically, and then you stand them all. You stand them all, and then it's basically just a 4th attack. At the end of the battle, they get retired. So, yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. One thing that's good about Zorga is that if you've seen, like, kind of the Zorga builds for Mask, right, is that a lot of people were cutting out the 4th attacker because it was just kind of a pretty useless card. Well, not really a useless card. It just really wasn't that needed, right? 3 attack Zorga was already pretty strong. because you had a lot of high-powered cards that gave you, like, that had crits, right? So it made everything very, very scary. And this is kind of the same, except better. So, and you got a built-in, like, restand for once per game, but it'll make, like, your already good column gooder, to put it lightly. So let's kind of talk about what's been put in. So first, you have 4 copies of this. This card is still amazing, right? Roaming Prison Dragon is still amazing. It has a crit, right? Nice. You have this new card as well. I don't know what it's called. It's like a tentacle dude probably with a, it's like, I don't know. Like it's basically like a new age roaming prison dragon. So what does it do? So when this unit is put on the board, you can energy blast 4, and then you pick a normal order from your drop zone, and then you bind it. And then for every type of normal order in your bind zone, this unit gets plus 5k. So it could get really, really big, right? It could get really big. And then the second effect is in the drop, activates in the drop zone. So at the beginning of the battle phase, if your Vanguard is a Zorga with a divine skill, if you've done Alchemagic this turn, you can call it to the rearguard circle. And then when you call it, your opponent Vanguard is Grai through high, it gets a crit. So why are we not running 4 of this? And like, why are we only running 2? Right? So one thing I want to point out is that you need an Energy Blast 4 for this effect. So it's a very big energy cost. So you don't want to spam it every single turn, right? If you do, more power to you, but you're going to run out of energy very, very quickly, right? And you do kind of want to spend energy for Nadia's cost, because this is a straight up +2, bro. It's just really, really good, right? And you get a lot of power with that. So you're not going to always spend energy for this cost. Maybe on your kill turn, on the turn that you want to use Nadia's skill, then boom, pump this dude up like crazy, right? Is it a dude? I'm not sure, but yeah, let's use the skill then. But you normally probably don't want to use it. You probably use like maybe once before, just kind of accelerate your bind zone, right, with your orders. But Energy Blast 4 is a lot. It's a lot. So if you're not using the first skill, then this power level is actually less than your roaming prison dragon. It's like a 15k, right? So let's just get a 15k over a 10k. I mean, you can intercept with this, but doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, this is why, you know, running only 2 copies of this, you want to see it, but you don't want to really call it out every single turn, in my opinion. And then the rest of it is like, you know, 4 Shadow Cloak. This is insane, right? Shadow Cloak is still really, really good. Pop this dude, like, get this dude out, you know, get free stuff, put stuff in the drop zone. Yeah, it does everything, right? Still keep it against Blang here. Keep on popping back your, like, OT so you can guard, like, easy mode. So really nice. Things like Flamme, we run 2 copies of this, right? I was thinking we're running 4, but then I realized, hey, you know what loses when you're playing Zorga is when you don't have orders. So we run 2 of this guy as well, just so you can salvage back orders in desperate situations. If you don't need to, then just call out Flamme, right? And then easy time. And then the last grade one we have is 1 copy of this. So this is just your big kind of Zorga boost order. Again, the generic grade 1 boost. 13k when you have a Zorga, and then when this unit boosts a Zorga grade 3, it gets 2k, and then if your bind zone has 2 or more types of normal orders, you pick one of your reguards and it gets plus 10k, and then at the end of the turn you retire it. So kind of cool for your big turn. And then for this build, we are running like 4 normal PGs, because I'm embracing the old, you know, kind of blitz order kind of Zorga builds. So 4 normal PGs, and you run 2 of this, because this dude is gonna get really, really big, right? So, you know, Soul Blast 1, draw. We've seen this card before, but you just get heaps of orders, and then you'll get heaps of defensive shield. You can play this against Blang if you ever see one. So that's nice, and it'll help you defend that turn, right? So really cool. And then the rest of it is just a bunch of different orders that are good. One thing you might notice is that this deck doesn't use a lot of CB again. So the only CB is like here, and then, you know, the Nadia itself doesn't use a lot of CB. So it's pretty CB efficient. But we're still running the counter charge. This the malevolent spirits, or cursed agony. What was his name again? But you retire 2 reguards. You draw a card, put it in your soul, and then you counter charge 1. We're not really using for the counter charge as much this time, but you put to soul. Right, put to soul is pretty good. We do use more soul, so that's pretty important. Other cards that are really, really cool now, you know, so many things go to the bind zone. You bet this basically just draw 2 cards, right? Draw 2 cards. And once you put this in the bind zone as well, you will just keep on drawing cards. It's like so nice, right? And then, you know, just more ways to call things out. We're running these kind of cards just so you can have an early game and push. But otherwise, you know, the rest of it, just see what you have, pick and match the best, and then just go like that, right? Just bash face with lots of power. Next we have is a Roto Visor. So, you know, robot fans, be chilling, right? I know Darius is coming out in set 3, but you know, if you're like those old school Blau Kruger fans, bro, this is that. The arena, the main effect is also called like the Nova Grappler City or whatever, right? So anyway, this deck revolves around getting arenas. The Nova Grappler Arena, you need 3 of them. Once you have 3, your front row gets 5k. So that's our target. Also has a secondary effect where at the end of the battle, you CB2, and then you draw a card, and then you pick regards equal to the number of arenas in your order zone, and you stand them. And if you stand 3 or more, those regards all get 5k. So, okay, that's the plan. How do we get 3 arenas? We need to get 3 of these dudes into the order zone. Our ride line will give you 1, so this guy will pretty much give you 1 when your grade 2 rides over. So there's 1 is solved. Then the grade 2 has a top 7 search that can grab a Rotovisor grade 3 or an arena. So from the top 7. So not confirmed, it can get it, but people can be pretty unlucky. So you can't really rely on this, right? So we need 2 more ways to get the arena. So ideally what you'd want to do is you'd mulligan for one of the arenas, or 2 ways to search for an arena, and then you will naturally get 1 arena there, and then you play 1 on turn 2, grade 2, grade 3, and then the second grade 3 turn, that's when you're gonna put your 3rd arena, and then it's all solved, right? That's you've reached your condition. Ways to search the arena are, so first off we have this one. This is a grade 1. It is a crazy looking dragon. It has Soul Blast 2, and you get to pick one of the following effects. So you can look at your deck, search for a set order with the same name as one that you already have, and you just add it to your hands. So there we go. Easy way to get one. And then the secondary, it has another effect. So if you have 3 or more set orders with the same name, you can countercharge 1. So pretty useful, because you need a CB2 for Rotovisor's effect. So overall, I think this is pretty nice, although Soul Blast 2 is pretty heavy. It does grab you 1 though. There's grade 3 as well. When it plays on the rear circle, you can see me 1, and then just search your deck for one of the set orders. Boom. Nice. And then the other less consistent way of doing it is to do it via this grade 1. So the secondary effect is just at the end of the battle that it boosted, if your order zone has a set order, you may put into Soul, and then you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, pick a grade 2 or higher unit or set order, and then you put it into your hand. So, not really a consistent way of doing it, but I think you have like 5 other ways to search out your set orders. I think it's fine, right? I think it's fine. And then you have like a bunch of unreliable ways to search out an order, but as long as you always get like, as long as you get that second order plus a confirmed way of getting the order, you're good. You're good. So overall, I think it's okay. This also has another effect that when it boosts, if your Vanguard's grade 3, and then you have 2 set orders, and order then gets 5k. So like a 13k boost. So it's kind of good. It fills up Soul, and that's just kind of it. So try and fish out your set order searches, add them to your hand. Very, very good times. I do like this one more though, because it does only require Soul Blast 2, but you have a bunch of different cards that already go into Soul, so I think it's fine. It doesn't impact your CB. Like, CB2 is quite heavy. Right, it's quite heavy. Worst case scenario, you can always, like, Energy Blast 7 to draw a card. So that's cool, too. But then what are the other cards that we put in the deck? So we have Combine Rusher. So this is 20k attacker. This is pretty much always going to be a 20k attacker because you're going to be putting so many set orders down. It does also let you call stuff out to let you rush. So very nice. Energy Cycler. Pretty self-explanatory. And this is the support for Rotovisor. So during a turn, if your order zone has 2 more cards, it gets 5k, so 15k beta. And then at the end of the battle, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher, and then for this battle, you've used one of your arena's like rest effects, you can Energy Blast 3 and draw a card, and then pick another card and it gets plus 5k. So let's talk about the arena effect. So you can, the gist of it is that every single battle, you can rest one of these arenas, and you give red text to one of your units for that battle, right? So you basically choose between on-hit counter charge or energy charge 2. So counter charge 1, energy charge 2. This will kind of, since ideally you'll have eventually 3 of these, you can rest 3 in 3 different battles, and one of them will hopefully hit, which will allow you to, offset the cost for this CB2 effect. But let's not rely on that, because relying on on-hit effects is pretty jank. You're going to get burnt at one point. So we have Bobble Mines. Bobble Mines will build soul. That will let you, and also let you countercharge. That will build soul for this. That will let you countercharge or search for set orders. And yeah, this is an extra doing. Many different ways of countercharging so you don't get screwed over and let you use your abilities to your heart's content. So that's basically it. If you feel like this is not enough ways to search your arena, if you're still getting screwed over, take some cards out. I can take out Combine Rusher, although I think like this should be one of your bigger attackers that you want to restand. This guy is also reason. Like, just take him out. You can put in the new grade 1 generic, auto searches. Those that search a deck, you basically discard a card, search a deck, put it in the drop zone, and you can activate it in your drop zone. And then when you would activate that order in your drop zone, it goes back to the bottom of your deck. But if it's a set order, just puts it in the set zone, set order zone, and it just stays. It doesn't go back anywhere. So you can run that, or you can just run more of this. Just more better beats. Like, you can change Combine Rusher maybe into this card, and then there'll be just more ways to search. Right now, I think like five is enough with 3 like uncertain ways. But if you just want to up this more, yeah, just up one of these counts, and I think you're pretty fine. And the last deck we have is Flamme. I think is it Flamme G, right? Flame G. I'm not gonna lie, this deck I searched in Flame, not F Flame. I just went MME, and then I put in every single card that mentioned this. So what is this? What does this deck do? So first effect for her is that she Soul Blasts 1 and searches the deck for a Flamme G card that is grade 2 or lower, and you get to call it, right? So deck thinning, right? The second effect is basically a complicated restand effect. So at the end of the battle that this attacked, if you have 3 different Flame G units on the board, you CB1, and then you pick the grade 0. So this is a Berkia, right, from your soul, and you ride it as stand, and you negate all its orders, because if you rewrite it again, because you're going to rewrite it at the end of the turn, and then if you don't negate the order, you get to draw a card if you want a second. Yeah. But anyway, you negate all its orders, and then it gets power. It gets 2k power for every damage that you and your opponent have. So if you have 4 and your opponent has 5, that's a total of 9 damage. And then your Berkia will get plus 18k. Right? And then at the end of the turn, you pick a Flame G Rugia from your soul, and you ride it as rest. So that's just a very complicated way of restanding. But that's just how it is. That's the deck. What is the deck? What is the supports that we have? So we run every single part of the ride line, because they all have regard effects, and you get to call them. So this one on the regard, at the end of the battle attack, you can Soul Blast 1, and then you retire it, and you pick one of your opponent's cards, and you retire it too, right? So make sure probably attack your Vanguard first, right? And this card is at the end of the battle, it attacked. If your Vanguard's a Flamme G Berkia, you can pop it and then countercharge 1, right? So very cool. And then the rest of the support cards is this grade 2, right? Look at the top 3 cards, grab Flamme G, 1 Flamme G from them, and then put the rest into the bottom of the deck. And then if you have a Flamme G Vanguard, you get boost. So kind of deck thinning. This one is just 10k extra, 15k shield actually. 15k shield, and just put on the Guardian Circle. You have to put a Flamme G card onto the bottom of your deck from your drop zone. So it kind of recycles cards, but then you get to call it out, because all the Flamme G cards retire itself. And then is that it? No, this is grade 1 as well. So this grade 1, if you have a Flamme G when your Flamme G Vanguard attacks, counterblast 1, put a Flamme G from your drop zone onto the bottom of the deck. So again, recycling, draw a card, and then for the turn, all Flamme G units gets plus 5k. And I think this is applied to you, so it's not on the Vanguards. So it's just, yeah, they all just get 5k. So this one's actually very important. You can also proc this multiple times, I'm pretty sure, to make your turns very, very big. But you just have to have multiple of these on the board. And then what fills out the rest of the deck is, hey, we have this. We have the extra shield. Then we have PGs. We have energy cyclers. And then you have Strega. So 3 Stregas. This is just extra CB support. Just to kind of draw more cards. That's kind of it. With that, that is it. That is all the list this today. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there'll be lots of improvements that you can run. Again, this set should be really, really insane. So, yeah, really fun. See you all next time. All right, bye.